It's about that time.
Visualizing, paddling out and making it real. Dedication, on a level only you can feel. Motivation, it gets stronger every year. Realization, action cures fear. The Surfcast, yeah.
Welcome to the Surfcast with TR. Get psyched.
Well, all right. Welcome all you listeners to another version of the Surfcast. Very proud and happy today to have my good friend on the show, Derek Thomas. Welcome to the show, Derek. Derek is a surfer, a musician, an artist on so many levels, but first and foremost on life. Many of us tend to travel all aspects of this being at different levels, and Derek's one of those who likes to dig a little deeper, which causes a lot of inspiration in my personal life because I've been blessed to be good friends with Derek for a long time and share a lot of incredible experiences with him in the water, on land, and on the metaphysical realm. I'm just going to come straight out and say it. This is going to be a next level podcast, gente. We're going into another side of surfing. That side of surfing where, in my opinion, this amazing experience brings you so close to nature that you come into the next possible realm of existence and investigate that, climb into that room as it were, and look around, find your way around. And before I really get too ahead of myself on that end of things, I want to start at the beginning of your story. Where are you from, and at what age did you start surfing?
I was raised in a Southern California, Fountain Valley area, just about 4 miles from the beach. Began surfing as a young child. My mom was dating a rather well-known kneeboarder, and he began to take me out in the ocean, experience the ocean. And that was my first introduction to the water. I don't know if it's because I'm a Cancer, but I'm naturally have an affinity towards bodies of water, and finding just that vast length of vision that is provided through staring at the ocean has always given me something that grounds me. And I think it was a young age, at maybe, though I started maybe at 6, I really started surfing, around 10 or 11, and riding my bike to the beach, and just having an awareness that that there was something offered to me that was available outside of the land in the ocean, that fulfilled me so much that I felt like I didn't really need much more. I think I told myself that I was going to be okay no matter what in this life, just because I was experiencing such a level of, not even, it wouldn't be contentment, but it's an ecstatic youth in experiencing the camaraderie with friends, the riding the bikes at dark to the beach at 4 a.m, whether it be to go surf local or to catch 4 different buses that go to San Clemente and take a 4-hour journey, as we didn't have our driver's licenses yet. Something about the ocean and what it brought, and the fact that it was a free activity, that turned me on in a way that I knew I was very fortunate to have the ocean. And that was my early awareness of, kind of self-awareness even, of being aware of that appreciation. And then I think just seeing adults and seeing family, friends of my folks, kind of coming to the realization that adults didn't exactly have it figured out, and that that happiness wasn't guaranteed with age. I knew that I had found something that was so dear to me, and that I knew that I was fortunate and I was going to cherish that. And in a big way, that's still, that's still a big part of how powerful the ocean is, and what it brings to, what it brings to you, or what it takes you away from, the essence of who you are, which I believe is nature. Surfing is connecting with the true nature in yourself, outside of the realm of names and labels. We are part of the energy that is within this universe. The understanding that we have is unique among all other species, but we did not create the nature. Looking out to the vast ocean, looking back on the land where life and everything else exists, yet you are in between those spaces, and you get to spend time between the spaces. And I think the spaces are the places that open us up to an awareness of who we are on a deeper level. And surfing is by nature a spiritual experience. I call them soul crafts. Surfboards are like soul crafts. They connect you to your soul. And so I look at instruments like that as well. And there's lots of different things you could think of, like a paintbrush and different things that are created by humans, but they connect us with our inner true soul. But I knew at a young age that surfing was a gift, and the fact that it was there without charge, and it was provided, and you just had to show up. And I loved the mystery that the reports weren't all there, it wasn't all dictated, and you showed up and you saw what you got. And I knew at a young age that it was just something I would always do, and I wanted to remain healthy and be able to continue doing that for as long as I could.
You're an embodiment of something that you realized at a very young age, and you started there, you're there now, but between the beginning and today, there's been a lot of different chapters, many that may have taken you away from where you started, where you are now. You're a professional musician and you're from Los Angeles. I can only imagine being in the belly of the beast there as a rock star, that you would see the entire other side of society and other side of the coin. After having started as this innocent kid riding his bike from Fountain Valley to HB in the dark with your surfboard and your buddies just all frothed up and stoked, you are that kid on the bike. I'm looking at him right now. You've got that spark, and that we surfed all day today and played music and just laughed and had fun like we did when we were children, because I also have been through a lot of different types of chapters, we'll say, in life. So I want to kind of land the conversation around the middle. So take us from how it is you got into music. How quick was the ride to being an accomplished musician, playing live and getting all that adoration? And tell me about what the journey was like coming to grips with that at the end of the day.
I went on a road trip when I was very young, maybe 4 years old, with a cowboy that my mom was dating. We took a Cadillac across the US, and though it's kind of in my subconscious, there was a lot of country music and a lot of traveling that kind of internalized within me, and I think that was maybe the spark for my connection with music in general, and maybe with songs. I fell in love with hearing words and inflections and, slight laughs from a voice in a song that were ever so slight. With storytellers, and things that connected me with my soul. And there was no questioning, because I was so young. There was no questioning as to why is this connecting with me. I just knew it was. I think that everybody has some things that they innately connect with, and there's probably some deeper, childhood stuff that has occurred that brings them to that, like that road trip I took. As Clive Davis has said, each element should make you, if depending on the music, I suppose, but make you want to dance. Even if it's just the bass line, or it's just the beat, or it's just the melody, just put in there what's working. And I got off on listening to some of the Beatles albums and listening to just, panning it over, stereo panning, and hearing just one element. I had a VW van in high school, and we could take the radio, right, and we could turn the dial so you could only hear the left speaker, so it would almost be like you're in the studio, kind of like the old Beatles albums, right, and you would only hear the bass and the vocal, or we could pan it right. And so I got off on kind of doing that, and and just noticing just two elements of a song. But on the journey of music as a outlet, for 10 years I didn't study, and I was writing many songs, and then I went and studied, and it was a classroom, with 30 people in chairs, and a teacher turned this creative art form of elusive wonderment and bewildered conjuring of randomness into a science, and I had a big hard time with that. I had to go see a few doctors. I was just struggling with my art turning into a science and a math.
While creating?
While creating, yes. So it was and I was able to be aware and lean into the process and learn the math, and then use the math within writing. Yet I loved the fact that there was no science and math within the words. I was not going to a course of poetry or whatnot. I was not going to a course of inflection. So to be a storyteller, you need to, of course, have something to say. You need, of course, have some experience or a, fictional tale that you want to weave. But, with music, it's got to be wrapped around melody, and it's got to be wrapped around these other elements. So, I always wondered why there wasn't music in more public places, because it has a natural ability to connect us. I think art in general, one of the purposes of art forms such as music and the spiritual arts, and even going to a museum and looking at art, is to create a stillness within our minds, a wonderment, and then a slight projection of our own into what it is we're seeing or experiencing. There's a slight arbitrariness in all what I would consider in a lot of really powerful art, where you can lean in your own projections, and which takes you to a deeper place, which seems to be, to me, the work of the spiritual arts as well as arts in general. I have naturally had an affinity towards that through music, through surfing, writing, and through learning about myself. So music and surfing kind of had an odd marriage for me, because a lot of the musicians I loved were so troubled and were so self-sabotaging, and it was almost like, you needed to be a unhealthy, dramatic case situation to be an artist. And I was always oriented towards being healthy and surfing. And so I found a very interesting space between being an artist and being a writer and a creator that would stay up late at night or would spend hours upon hours writing and waiting and musing, with being healthy and then walking outside and then going and doing something healthy for myself. It's a hard balance to find. to lean into your arts, to the creative elements, be it whatever it is. If you're, a photographer, a videographer, a musician, a painter, a sharer of something that involves your psychic energy, to step outside of that and then go do something healthy for yourself. My path has been one of doing that and finding myself along that journey. Health, creativity, and growth and awareness in the direction in which I wanted to go towards, I suppose. Yeah.
So here you are, an incredible musician. Now you're studying it, so you're going next level with that. At this same exact age of your life, you're dealing with the same exact thing with surfing, because there's the contests, there's the sponsorship. You're already good enough to be pro, but you want to do it your own way. Tell us about how you confronted that same juncture at the same exact time in the different medium of surfing. Did you struggle with the fact that your art was turning to a science in the water as well?
I would be second on a tour and have a final somewhere, but then I had something else going on that was more important, and I wouldn't go to the final. And I would do that because it wasn't about that for me. It wasn't solely basing myself off of, I guess you could say, perceptions of others or whatnot. I've naturally, through going through the stages of life, as I was 20 years old, studying music, surfing, spending my time between the two. It was basically months on end of only music, followed by short stints of surfing. I knew I wanted to make a living doing them. And I knew I also wanted to be healthy. And I knew I was ambitious. So I was never a big one about validation. I was always a big one about personal knowledge of diving deep. If I did, it was good enough. I knew only I knew in the end what I put in. So it's never been important to me, the opinions of others. It was a dance between, diving deep to know that I went deep enough to grasp, but deep enough to feel validated, that because I found my validation through myself, through knowing what I put in, and then coming out and then connecting with the ocean. And it was always a song and dance between the two, and what I was told about those two different people, the musician and the surfer. And then of course the musician surfer was always, to me, someone who was lackadaisically writing songs, and was more of a surfer who dabbled in music. But I was much more of I wouldn't even say more of a musician that dabbled in surfing. I would say that I was an extremely deep dabbler in both. And I think that's an important, very important thing for people to understand, to not find the validity of what they're doing through the hours or the days or the comparison. It is a journey that is worthy if it is something that you are passionate about. Don't half-ass it. Everything has its validity. So if you're going to do something, try not to base it off of other people's viewpoints, and mainly it's only you who knows in the end. What I found very much so was that the surfer musician of those two occupations are probably the two biggest occupations that are looked at as people who are lazy and just hang out, Like, these are people who just get to go surf and hang out. And As you know, I've got 3 degrees in music, and at one point I spent 5 years in a canyon spending 8 to 15 hours a day studying with this unique man that I had met, Rick Barda. It was like only I knew what I was putting into my music, and only I knew that I was balancing the health with the neurotic, emotional intensity of being a writer, of being an artist. Awareness that I wasn't going to base anything about my life upon where I got in the music industry or in the surfing industry from, accolades or attention and a return on investment. The investment return was knowing that I was given this life to live, and that I found the things that I loved, and that I was going to go and dig deep, and that if nothing else, I know what I put in, and I know if nothing else, I'm going to surf, and I'm going to play music, and I'm going to share that with people, and I'm going to be healthy. And these things have become more prominent 20 years ago when I was 22 or whatever. Surfing was on the outskirts of society still. Huntington Beach was all bricks and spit and punk rock. I grew up in a different time, and it was never a potential lifestyle.
You ended up, from that point, really making some incredible music, and we'll have all the links to Derek's music in the footnotes of the show. That I suggest you guys really get into that. It's very diverse and eclectic music, and ever evolving, and the new stuff coming out's the best stuff yet. You've actually shifted a big part of your focus into whole other realms. I'm interested in if there was a revelation at one point, or if it was a gradual process of really being committed to your music, yet going through all these different self-growth chapters that led to perhaps shifting your focus a bit.
Combining the music and surfing with what was important to me, which was spiritual growth. I knew at a young age. I said to myself that I wanted to know when I was 15. I said, I'd like to know what people know when they're 40 right now. Give me that knowledge. I always hear people talking about how if they knew when they were younger, and what I came to realize is if you ask for that knowledge, the experience that you're asking for is tribulations and trials, because that's what comes with the knowledge of age. There's a fine balance on putting your weight into making a living off what you do, as many people learn as entrepreneurs, and there's something to be said with holding a position outside of your passion and then enjoying your passion as a creative outlet and not putting that weight on it. I think I always loved writing tons of different genres. I would get an influence, and I would basically do albums as if they were films, is how I would think of them, and I would turn into a character, and I would write an album that was maybe like energy of Beck, and then I'd move into the energy of the Rolling Stones, and then maybe the energy of Marvin Gaye, and then maybe the energy of the Shins or Kurt Weill or Spoon, or fingerstyle, or old Jerry Jeff Walker. And so I was always morphing and shifting, and I always felt that I had this ability to change. And because I was always writing different genres, and I felt so connected to them when I was writing them, much like a player in an actor in a film, being totally invested in the role. I love music. It's given me a chance to be creative. It's given me a chance to be studious. It's given me a chance to set goals and achieve, etc., etc. And surfing's been there for me as a release and as a feeling of being supernatural, gliding across the ocean. formless, nameless, outside of the world of branding. I knew that health was important, and I knew that the music was not a guaranteed financial support. And I came to a realization that basically I wanted to be out of the country 6 months out of the year, and I wanted to be in a tropical environment. I wanted to be experiencing nature. I wanted to be eating healthy food. I wanted to be surfing great waves, and I wanted to be playing my music, and I wanted to be around people that were in good spirits. My soul knew what I was connected to, and I was fortunate enough to have continued down that path through my 20s and 30s and be in my mid-30s and be of the realization that I wanted to combine all these things together. I created a website and become a surf guide. And I got certified to be an international surf guide. And I had been doing yoga for probably 10 years at that point, and certified to be a yoga teacher, and as well certified to be a breathwork and meditation facilitator. I worked for a few of the biggest, the world's biggest companies, and yachts in the Maldives, just to, exclusive resorts in Zimbabwe with 3 huts on a private island. And I experienced a world that was my goal that I set for myself. It was an amazing time to be able to be traveling the world. And I think that there's something that has to be said about providing a service that's sincere, that you are knowledgeable about, to be in any industry, and knowing what you're bringing to the table and feeling great about what you're bringing to the table. And I feel like business is often under the umbrella of pulling one over on someone. That business is about getting the edge or getting, the better end of the deal. I much more support corroboration and collaboration before competition. And so I was in an environment where I was just sharing things that I was totally connected with people on their holidays, and in extremely remote tropical places. And I did that for about 4 years. Some of the places I found myself in were of the highest highs and the lowest lows, traveling in remote places, not knowing, how you're going to get anywhere, how you're going to feed yourself, and just being in some pretty intense situations, to being on, being fed, 5-star meals on a private island and with perfect waves. So I find it important to rest in an awareness that there's a journey, and it is not predictated, as we can make our own decisions at any point in time and change and alter our destiny. But I found that music, surfing, health, all these things that I was so interested in had now combined, and I was offering them, and I was grounding and supporting people on their holidays through experiences, and sharing my music through entertaining at private weddings, and on the boat, and all these things. So, and what I tend to find was that more often than not, I found connecting with people and having conversations with them about something personal while we were in the water between waves, or at night while relaxing, or just being able, I seem to have the natural ability to help someone slow down. And what I found in a lot of these beautiful, exclusive, remote places was people being, not that conscious, like just drinking. It's their holiday, they get the week, they've planned it for a year, they're out with the boys. These guys like to party, So I left the industry, and I did a lot of traveling in Central America. I dove deeper into the spiritual arts, and definitely into meditation, breath work, reading a lot of works by various artists such as Krishnamurti and Alan Watts and Michael Singer and maybe you could say Eckhart Tolle, Deepak Chopra, Tara Brach, Brene Brown. Just gained an awareness of where everybody comes from a different place, and then we all come together in our experiences, but we all have such vast different experiences throughout our lives. And I found that I was kind of enamored by the psyche of the human. As we get older and our minds take on more information and we form more of an identity, the things that happen to us that are very stressful and intense make a very deep imprint into our psyches, because they are often not planned and they are often sudden and they are so intense, and they tend to kind of occupy what I call our perception filter. Everyone perceives the same exact situation in a different way. The importance of proper breathing and its power to give us an understanding of our thoughts, meaning the realization that we are experiencing our thoughts and that we are not our thoughts. Tai Chi through slow, focused movement, be it yoga through balance and alignment, Taekwondo Mudo Kwan through the katas and the slow movement forms, or the asanas of vinyasa flow. The activity that is taking place is secondary, but the true art in the Eastern arts and the true purpose of these focus points, which are what you call a mantra, ideally one thought, that which takes over all other thoughts. A mantra is really based originally on a sound, but it can take form in a focus on balance, focus on breath. And through a prolonged period of stillness of thoughts, we can become aware of our thoughts as something that we are actually experiencing, as if we are, as it's been said, the projection screen on which the thoughts are coming, and we can be aware of those thoughts without completely identifying with them. That is where the human has a unique faculty, able to create religions and cultures and machines and dominate this planet and this environment. This faculty to explain everything, to share, to experience without even experiencing, meaning reading through books. We're the only species that can learn from reading and not actual experience. We have the most powerful gift that we are completely addicted to and we cannot separate ourselves from. So the irony is that we have something that is so great, yet we're stuck in it, completely identified with it. And the Eastern arts and art in general, like as I was saying much earlier, paintings, music, these things that stop us, slow us down, allow us to project into them. To slow your mind down for a certain period of time, to bring an awareness that you are not the thoughts that you have, is vital to the trajectory of your life. It is vital to the internal dialogue in which you participate with yourself. The internal dialogue which is happening, the conversations that you have with yourself all day that many people are unaware of. If there is someone having a conversation, who is the one listening? Who is the one talking? And so through stillness of thoughts, much often found through meditation, we become aware of our conditioned selves. By becoming aware of our conditioned selves, we are able to create an emotional intelligence, which allows us to make a decision on how we react to situations rather than be automatically on autopilot reacting as if a situation demanded this exact reaction from you is the appropriate reaction. Well, the same situation bring about a completely different reaction from 20 different people. All 20 of you at the core are something before you have been through your experiences and conditioned. And what you are nature. You are part of the world beyond names. You are beyond your ability to create languages, cultures, religions, and machines. The human did not create the grains in wood, the striations in muscle, nor the etchings in jade or other stones. This universal intelligence that exists, the vibratory energy that is in stones, the consciousness that sleeps in plants, the consciousness that awakens in a living animal, and then the consciousness that is aware of itself within the human, the highest consciousness on the planet, is trapped unless it puts space between its experiences. It is not unlike fasting for the mind. Our bodies take 5 to 7 hours to digest a proper, healthy meal. Your body is working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, however many years you're alive. If you were to stop eating, your body does not stop working. It actually cleanses itself. And it's the same idea for the mind, but it is compounded greatly as the mind is so very busy in the past and projecting into the future. So the shortest points of space in the mind can make the deepest impact, because the mind is so busy that even small increments of a few breaths with a relaxation of all tension in the body, which we are unaware we hold, especially in our faces. Just throughout the day, that awareness, coming back to it, and just relaxing the face and taking 2 relaxed breaths and coming back. And then coming back again next time we remember these small gaps, because the mind is so voracious. There's a power in these small little elements, in these small spaces. And I think the world is just kind of wakening up to the fact of, something that ancient cultures knew. And breathwork is something that, academics to Navy SEALs to athletes, and just overall health. Oxygen is responsible for 80% of the detoxification within our bloodstream. It's responsible for 75 to 80% of our cognitive thinking. And it is responsible for the creation of all of our energy, through glucose, mitochondria, creating ATP with oxygen. So this vital component of oxygen, we breathe 40 to 60% of our capacity, because our thoughts affect the way that we breathe as our autonomic nervous system. and they compound upon one another in a circular effect. So if you are thinking and concerning directed towards the past or the future, or a concern, inner dialogue situation, your respiratory rate is raising. Because your respiratory rate is raising, you're pushing again into the thoughts because of the way you're breathing. So it is in concert in the way that through proper breathing, we can slow down our thoughts. Through slowing down our thoughts, we slow down our heart rate, our breathing, and it works on our side. And I think we're just becoming aware of this powerful relationship. Some have called it heart math and the mind-body relationship. And many of you have heard of The Secret, creating your destiny and the law of attraction, and awareness that we are not our thoughts. It gives a little space there. And a big part of it is just to realize the way that you treat yourself, the inner dialogue, the relationship you have with yourself, that conversation that which operates within your own mind is the conversation that which comes out of your mouth and you bring into the world. This is where, Buddhism and Tao and Zen, it's compassion, forgiveness, and this is not directed, as many people think, towards someone else. It's much more directed towards yourself. I have a word for it called emotional relativism, which is kind of like cultural relativism. You can't compare one culture to another based off of something that they were unaware of at different times and eras. You can't. So you cannot judge yourself based off a previous version of yourself. That is your birthright to move forward and grow in happiness. That it is vital for you to forgive yourself of anything that you have intentionally or unintentionally done in the past, or others as well. And it doesn't matter if it was an occurrence or 10 years that you spent doing something that are gone. Don't base anything off of a period of time in the past. Forgiveness for others and ourselves, compassion, a positive internal dialogue, and awareness of the dialogue comes first. You do not make amends with the past through living in pain. You do not rectify a wrong through putting yourself through, troubling times. There's no rectification there. So you simply have compassion as you would for another, for yourself. You must forgive yourself. And then you move forward with the knowing right that you deserve to be happy. The knowing right that within that, you are going to share that energy with others, and in appreciation and a gratefulness for either having that awareness or just being able to be here. Mix yourself up in a million different situations. You're here, so just run wild and follow your passions. We all have our daily lives, and there's so much going on within them, and we forget the mystic. This experience is beyond psychedelic. The humans have only labeled it and named it to make it seem like it makes sense. Just because we can name the seasons and the planets in the name of the periodic table of elements, these are simply names that we have put on things that vibrate and have energy. This is not their true nature. These are just existing energy. This too is what we are. We are this energy before thought, before labeling and branding and naming. We are nature, and nature again is just another word. If you go to meditate and you hear the sounds of people talking or the vehicles or nature, without labeling it, without understanding what is being said, can you hear it as if a child, before the rules have been organized within your mind? Can you experience something for the first time when it is not the first time? Can you experience your partner for who they are today and not who they were yesterday? Or can you experience yourself for who you are today and not who you were yesterday? Just do yourself a favor and find time to put stillness into your thoughts, to recognize your thoughts. Find compassion for yourself. It will let you find compassion for others. So, if you're a taskmaster to yourself, telling yourself that you must get done, you must do, you must finish, then it is the others, that you have relationships with that are going to feel the cracking of your whip, because you're just going to provide that information right outside of your mouth. So watch the way in which you treat yourself, because it is the way in which you treat others. And it is the relationship that you have with yourself that is the primary relationship that you bring into this planet. And know that you do not know the outcome of any situation. And in that regards, making a decision with confidence when you are trying to decide between a few decisions is much better than actually making a decision through weighing the options, because we never really know what will come when we make that decision. Just as we never really know when a wonderful thing happens to us, such as someone winning the lottery. How fortunate. Get a new car, crash it. How unfortunate. In the hospital, nurse, connection, becomes your partner, wife. How fortunate. Wife dies. These events, we cannot think that we know the result of our current situation. So try not to judge the events that are happening to you, because they usually bring you the opposite of what you think they are bringing you. There is an intelligence that is much greater than your linear mind. A human mind can only understand 3 things at one time, really only 2. If you're having a conversation with someone and there was, say, a song playing in the background, and then you added one more element, your mind could not keep up with those 3 things, yet your body is taking care of millions of processes every second. The intelligence within your body is the same intelligence that is within the universe, from the microscopic level of plants to the telescopic level of the trajectory of planets. There is a mystery going on that we have labeled as humans to explain our situation, but never forget that there is something so great and intelligent that is part of you. And use your mind to express your soul, and find space within your thoughts to honor your time here.
Is this enough? Visualizing, paddling out and making it real. Dedication, on a level only you can feel. Motivation, it gets stronger every year. Realization, action cures fear. The Surfcast, yeah.
Team Anti-Over It.
Zero, yeah.
Major inspiration.
Is this enough? Is this enough? Is this enough? Is this enough? Is this enough?
Get psyched. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this.